Hello everyone. The topic of today's discussion is language and gender. So we will discuss the relationship between language and gender. Let's begin our today's lecture. Language and gender. The area of language and gender is concerned with a number of issues. So there are a number of issues in the area language and gender. For example, how is it that Western languages are inherently sexiest, like embody discrimination in their structure and or vocabulary? So this is one of the issues, that how Western languages are inherently sexiest, right? So what is sexiest language? We will discuss now. Embody discrimination in their structure and or vocabulary. This may be by assuming that the default case is always male, as in the linguist must gather data and be careful that he organizes it carefully. So here we have an example of generic use of language. For example, the linguist must gather data and be careful that he organizes it properly. So this pronoun he, this is a generic pronoun. Right? So this is okay, what we call that the default case is always male, because male use such kind of structures in language, right? Now, apart from this generic usage, language may be sexiest in term it uses for women. In using animal terms derisively for women, for example, stupid cow. So this is like a use for women, right? Stupid cow. Similarly, there's silly duck. So these are the names which are given to women. So this kind of situation is a reflection of the position of women in Western societies and relates it to the history of the culture they embodied. So what is the position of women in a particular society or in a particular culture? So such kind of terms are used. So that was in the past. Okay, like today, such kind of words are not used for women. But in the past, such kind of terms like animal terms were used for women, right? So this is okay, the reflection of the position of if women are inferior in society, so such kind of words are used. And if they are not inferior, so such kind of words are hard to find in that particular society. Here we will talk more about language and gender. There are two main views on language differences between the sexes. One stresses the difference between the two, while the other stresses the fact that male dominance is the operative force. So one view is that male speak a different language from female because these two sexes are different. So there are biological differences between male and female. That's why they speak different languages. While other view is that males are dominant over women, or there is male dominancy over women. That's why due to dominant position of male, so the male have different language while females have different languages. So they both talk about the difference between the language used by male and the difference between the language used by female. So one view stresses that the differences exist because males are different from women, while other stresses that the differences exist because male dominate over women, right? So there have been many attempts to desexify language by creating new generic form such as chairperson, because in the past this word was used as chairman. So that is like the desexifying of the term, okay, of the word. So nowadays we use chairperson. So chairperson is used both for a woman and for a man, right? Or simply chair, or instead of like a chairperson, we use the word chair. And instead of chairman, we use chairwoman, right? So that's another, okay, that we use chair instead of chairman or chairwoman. So the goal of such creation is to arrive at the neutral label which can be used for either sex without highlighting this. So here how they desexify language. So one word is here, that is chairperson for instead of chairman, or chair instead of chairman or chairwoman, right? We have more example also. Like sometimes we say like male and female. So we can say person instead of male or female. Or like spokesperson instead of spokesman, we say spokesperson. So these nowadays, okay, that language is desexifying, right? In the area of written address, English has had considerable problem. For example, the forms Mrs. and Miss, which stress the marital status of the women but not of the man, are now regarded as antiquated and unacceptable. For example, that here we have Mrs. So when like there is a girl or a woman who is unmarried, so we use Miss. And when she is married, so we call her Mrs. And if there is a male and he is unmarried, so we address him with Mr. And when he is married, still we address him as Mr. So there is no change in the address. Mr. remain single and Mr. remain also married. But if a girl is unmarried, so we use Miss, right? When we address a girl and she is unmarried, so we call her Miss. For example, Miss Aisha or Miss Layla. And when she is married, then we change the title. Address, then we say that Mrs. Ahmad or Mrs. Ali, right? Or Mrs. like Ashfaq, right? And like male is Mr. before marriage and male is Mr. after marriage. We say Mr. Ahmad, and after marriage also Mr. Ahmad. So this is like it is now unacceptable, right? So instead of Mrs., now women love to call them Ms. We use M as Ms instead of Miss or Mrs. So Miss would be like a kind of neutral word, right? Or we are desexifying, right? The use of Ms shows some of the difficulties of the attempt to desexify language. So we use Ms instead of Mrs. or Miss. So the success depends on whether the new form is accepted in the society in question. So new form can also backfire, which is obviously not intended by its inventors. So sometimes a society accepts this like a new term, or when a word is desexified, and sometimes it is not acceptable to the society, right? So thank you so much. It was all about, not all about, but it was an introduction to language and gender, or the relationship between language and gender. We will talk more about in detail in our coming lecture, and we will discuss more that how differences exist in the vocabulary and in the syntactic structures, and the adjectives used by the women and the adjectives used by the male, and what kind of words, what kind of sentences are used by the male and what kind of sentences are used by the women, and why such structures and such sentences and such words are used by male, and why such kind of sentences or structures or words are used by female in society. So keep watching and enjoy learning with Muhammad Imran. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the channel, and please provide your valuable comments. Thank you so much.